Hey everyone! Before we get into tonight's story, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out and lets me know you want more nightmare fuel. Also, drop a comment below. I want to know where you are watching from and what time is it there. Now, let's get into it. I started working night security at the Millbrook Industrial Park 3 months ago for $14.50 an hour. Millbrook's population is around 8,700, and most of those people are asleep by the time my shift starts at 11 p.m. The industrial park sits on the eastern edge of town, right where the streetlights stop and the pine forest begins. 6 warehouses, a logistics company, and a shut-down textile factory that nobody's bothered to demolish yet. My routine is simple. I clock in at the main office, grab my flashlight and radio from the charging station, and make my rounds every hour on the hour. Between rounds, I sit in the office with the space heater cranked up because the building's ancient furnace can't keep up with December in New England. I drink black coffee from a thermos, the cheap stuff from the grocery store, nothing fancy. And I scroll through my phone or read paperbacks I pick up at the thrift store for $1 each. Tom Clancy mostly, sometimes Stephen King, which feels almost too on the nose now. The first time I saw him was on Tuesday, around 1:30 in the morning. I was doing my rounds, walking the perimeter of Warehouse C with my flashlight beam cutting through the fog that rolls in off the river this time of year. The beam caught something moving near the tree line, maybe 50 yards out. A person. A man, I thought, though the distance and the fog made it hard to be certain. He was just standing there. I stopped walking. My boots crunched on the gravel, and the sound echoed off the corrugated metal walls. The fluorescent security lights overhead buzzed with that electrical hum that never quite stops, and I could hear the ventilation system from the warehouse behind me, a low mechanical breathing that you stop noticing after a while, until you do notice it, and then it's all you can hear. The man didn't move, not toward me, not away, just stood there at the edge of the trees. I raised my flashlight higher, trying to get a better look, but the beam didn't reach that far, just illuminated the fog between us, turning it into a wall of white. "Hello?" I called out. My voice sounded thin in the open air. Nothing. No response. No movement. I waited maybe 30 seconds, my heart doing that thing where it speeds up just a little, where you're not quite scared, but you're definitely paying attention. Then I turned and continued my rounds. When I looked back, he was gone. I mentioned it to Ray, the day shift supervisor, when he came in at 7 a.m. Ray's been with the company for 16 years and has heard everything. "Probably a homeless guy," he said, not looking up from his clipboard. "They camp out in the woods sometimes. As long as they don't come onto the property, we don't call the cops. Company policy." That made sense. I'd seen evidence of camps out there before. Beer cans, the remains of fires, a tarp strung between trees. I saw him again on Thursday. Same time, around 1:30, but this time he was closer, maybe 30 yards from the fence that surrounds the property, close enough that my flashlight beam touched him and I got my first real look. He was tall, maybe 6'2" or 6'3", and thin in a way that looked unhealthy, gaunt. He wore a dark jacket that hung loose on his frame and jeans that were too short, showing pale ankles above muddy work boots. His hands hung at his sides, and even from that distance, I could see they were shaking. Not from cold, I don't think, just shaking. His face was the worst part. Sunken cheeks, hollow eyes that caught the light and reflected it back like an animal's. His hair was long and greasy, hanging down past his ears in clumps. He didn't blink. I watched him for a full minute, and he didn't blink once. "Hey!" I shouted. "You need to move along. This is private property." He turned his head, not his body, just his head, and looked directly at me. Not at my flashlight, not at the general direction of my voice, but at me, like he could see me perfectly in the dark. Then he smiled.
I don't know how to describe that smile, except to say it was wrong. Too wide, too many teeth. I grabbed my radio. "Ray, you there?" Static. "Ray, I've got someone on the property, east side of Warehouse C. Need you to call the police." More static. The radio was dead. Brand new batteries, fully charged, and it was dead. When I looked back up, the man was walking away. Not hurrying, not running, just walking with this unsteady, lurching gait, like his legs didn't quite work right. He disappeared into the tree line, and I stood there in the buzzing fluorescent light, my breath making clouds in the December air, and I realized my hands were shaking just like his had been. I didn't sleep that day. Went home to my apartment on 3rd Street, drew the curtains, and lay in bed staring at the ceiling until my alarm went off at 9 p.m. The whole time, I kept seeing that smile. Friday night, I almost called in sick. Stood in my kitchen with my phone in my hand, Ray's number pulled up on the screen. But I needed the money. Rent's due in a week, and I'm already running close. So I went in. The office smelled like it always did. Burnt coffee, the faint chemical tang of bleach from the bathroom, and something else underneath it all. Copper, maybe, or rust. I'd never noticed it before, but that night it seemed stronger, made my stomach turn a little. I made my 11 p.m. rounds. Everything was normal. Empty parking lots, locked doors, the hum of the ventilation systems. The textile factory loomed against the sky, dark except for a single security light at the loading dock. At midnight, I made my rounds again, still normal. At 1 a.m., I was back in the office, trying to focus on a Tom Clancy novel about submarines. The space heater rattled beside me, and the overhead lights buzzed. I kept looking at the windows, at the darkness beyond the glass, but I couldn't see anything, just my own reflection staring back. 1:30 came, and I grabbed my flashlight for my rounds. That's when I saw the car. It was parked at the far end of the lot, near Warehouse F, where the light doesn't quite reach. A sedan, dark-colored, black or dark blue, I couldn't tell. The windows were tinted. I'd walked past that spot an hour ago, and the car hadn't been there. Nobody should be here at 1:30 in the morning. The warehouses are closed, the logistics company doesn't run night shifts, and the textile factory's been abandoned for 5 years. I approached slowly, my flashlight beam sweeping back and forth. The gravel crunched on my boots, and my breath came faster now. The engine of the car was off, no lights, but as I got closer, I could see someone sitting in the driver's seat. Just sitting there, not moving. "Hey," I called out, "you can't park here. This is private property." The figure in the car didn't respond. I got within 10 feet and stopped, close enough to see that the windows weren't just tinted, they were fogged up from the inside, like someone had been breathing in there for a long time. Close enough to smell something through the closed windows. Stale tobacco, and that copper smell again, stronger now. I raised my flashlight and tapped it against the driver's side window. "Sir, you need to leave." The figure moved, turned its head to look at me. It was him, the man from the woods. Same sunken face, same hollow eyes, same too wide smile. But up close, I could see more. His eyes weren't quite right. One was slightly higher than the other, like his face was put together wrong. His lips were cracked and bleeding, and his hands, resting on the steering wheel, weren't just shaking, they were twitching, spasming. He pressed his face against the window. His breath fogged the glass further, but his eyes never left mine. I stepped back. "I'm calling the police." I turned and walked, not run, walked because I didn't want to show fear, back toward the office. Behind me, I heard the car door open. The hinges squealed. Then footsteps on the gravel. Slow, unsteady, lurching footsteps. I walked faster, The footsteps matched my pace. I broke into a jog. The office was 50 yards away. 40, 30. The footsteps behind me weren't jogging. They were still walking, but they were getting closer. How were they getting closer? I reached the office door, yanked it open and slammed it shut behind me, locked it, the deadbolt, the chain, everything. I stood there, breathing hard, staring at the door. The buzzing of the overhead lights seemed deafening now. The heater rattled and clanked. My heart hammered in my chest. Then I saw his face in the window beside the door. He was right there, pressed against the glass, his breath fogging it up, that smile spreading wider, impossibly wide, showing teeth that looked too sharp. He raised one shaking hand
and tapped on the glass. Once. Twice. 3 times. Then he leaned back, and I saw what he'd been holding in his other hand. A knife. Long, serrated, with something dark and wet on the blade. I grabbed my phone and dialed 911. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped it. 911, what's your emergency? There's a man outside my building with a knife. I'm at the Millbrook Industrial Park, the security office. Please send someone. Is he trying to enter the building? No, he's just standing there. But he's not right. Please send someone now. Units are on the way. Stay inside and keep the doors locked. I stayed on the line with the dispatcher, watching the window. He didn't move, just stood there, smiling, occasionally tapping the knife against the glass. Tap. 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 The police arrived 12 minutes later. 2 patrol cars, lights flashing. I watched through the window as they approached him. He didn't run, didn't resist. Just let them put him in handcuffs and guide him into the back of one of the cars. One of the officers came to the office door. I unlocked it. "You okay?" she asked, Officer Mendez, according to her name tag. Yeah, I'm okay. Who is he?" She glanced back at the patrol car. "Name's Dennis Howell. He's been missing for 3 weeks. His family reported him missing from a psychiatric facility in Brattleboro." "What was he doing here?" "We don't know yet, but we found something in his car." She paused. "There's blood in the trunk. A lot of blood. We're bringing in forensics." My stomach dropped. "Blood? We'll need you to come to the station and give a statement, but you're safe now. He's in custody." They found the body the next day, a woman, mid-20s. She'd been reported missing from a gas station in Brattleboro the same night Dennis Howell disappeared from the facility. They found her in the woods behind the industrial park, buried in a shallow grave near where I'd first seen him standing. I gave my statement, answered their questions. They told me Dennis Howell had a history of schizophrenia and violent episodes. He'd been institutionalized for attacking someone with a knife 2 years ago. When he escaped, he'd stolen a car and driven south, picking up the woman at the gas station. They asked me if I wanted counseling. I said no. I just wanted to forget. I quit the security job a week later. Couldn't go back there. Couldn't stand the thought of walking those rounds again, of standing under those buzzing lights, of seeing that tree line in the distance. I got a new job at a grocery store, day shift, fluorescent lights and elevator music and customers complaining about prices. Normal, safe. But some nights, when I'm lying in bed and the room is dark, I hear it. That tapping, slow and steady. Tap. 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 And I know someday it won't be in my dreams anymore. If you've ever worked a night shift alone and experienced something creepy, feel free to share your story in the comments below. And as always, thanks for watching. Stay safe out there, and I'll see you in the next one.